Ready for the video?
Yeah.
Let's get it.
Let's do it.
Present practice. What is vibing? This is Vish and
Desiree,
today we'll be responding to Sadhguru's video on
managing time, information, and energy.
Today I'm here with Desiree.
Yes, hi.
Want to introduce yourself?
My name is Desiree Gutierrez. I live in Austin, Texas. I am a 5D realtor.
And where can they find you?
You can find me at Good Days in Austin. You can find me, I'm Compass as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, have you heard of Sadhguru before?
I have not. I've heard of the writer, the author from centuries ago, so no.
Okay, cool. And I'm curious with regards to your background in energy work, want to briefly tell us about that?
My background in energy work, well, I mean, it starts from the inside out. So it started since childhood. And first is, I mean, it's all of the components, all the modalities together from the body, physically the body, and then connecting to source, which is your own practice, right, to spirit. And so through energy is understanding also the nervous system and how electrons work and how we vibrate, right, to each other. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
And I would love to hear what Sadhguru has to say about energy as well.
Cool.
Let's watch it together.
Let's do it. Let's get into the video.
How our spiritual practice can help us manage time, information, and energy you talked about earlier?
It definitely helps you to manage energy, isn't it? Definitely it does. Information, to manage your information properly or not to succumb to the tendencies caused by the information, of the past information, energy is a very important part. The old rut has formed. If you want to get out of it, you need some energy. If you don't have enough power, you can't get out of it. It will take you in the same rut. So if you generate sufficient energy, you can also handle the tendencies caused by the old information. The karma can be broken only if you have the needed energy. So these two things, it definitely serves. Above all, once your energies are in a certain way, what somebody does in 24 hours, you may do it in 6 hours. Or what you do in 24 hours, somebody may do it in 3 days, which is a fact for us. So all three things are being managed in a certain way. But specifically about time, if we want to have a grasp of time, then we would need a sadhana which is of a different nature. If you want to have mastery over time, there's a completely different kind of sadhana. This gives you some, but mainly it's focused towards handling the karmic information and the energy. If one wants to have mastery over time, it needs a different approach. If you have to go that way, either you must have an enormous understanding of various aspects of life, it'll become extremely scientific, or you must be simply willing to listen. If you have either one of these qualities, it's possible. The first one that I said, an enormous understanding, that will not happen in a short time. That cannot happen in a short time. It takes a lot. It would take lifetimes for people to understand how it actually happens.
So what do you think so far of the video?
I mean, believe it resonates, so yes.
Sweet, and it seems like you did actually know Sadhguru, is this the same one?
Yes, I wasn't sure who you were talking about, if it was like a recent, you said headspace and meditative, so I don't know if there's other new, does that make sense?
Got you.
Yeah.
So it's the same
I don't
guy?
know technology. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How long have you known him for?
Not personally.
Right.
Right. Just read his books probably, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago.
Do you remember what it was called?
It's Sadhguru, no, but I could take a picture of it when I get home.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious with that book in terms of what you know about him.
Or he was his practices in a book. But yes, I'll take a picture of it.
That'd be
when I get
awesome.
back. Yeah.
And I'm curious with regards to what you've seen so far from that book, or just in general. What do you know about him?
He's a teacher
Mhm.
of wisdom.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I know about him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Well, let's continue.
Cool.
Happens. What is time? I know science has some explanations for time. It's fine, they've taken a few steps, but it's nowhere near the ultimate reality of what is time. So, I would say going into that such sadhana right now limits itself to only those people who will simply listen. If I tell them, jump into a well, they will jump. Not an open well, tube well. Yes. If I say jump into a tube well, they will squeeze themselves and go into the tube well. If they are like that, we can do kala-related sadhana. You have heard of Kirtimukha? Every temple is adorned with the image of Kirtimukha. When Shiva said simply, you eat yourself up. He said, I'm hungry. He said, you eat yourself up. He simply ate himself up. Only his face, mouth and hands were left. Everything else he ate himself up. So, Shiva said, you are a glorious face. You are above all gods. So, every temple has the face of Kirtimukha, where hands are into the mouth, everything, the body is gone, he ate it up. His own body, he ate it up, because Shiva said so. No reason, no sense, but simply ate it up. So he rose above all gods. What is being said is that he rose above time and space and everything. He is above gods means he is risen beyond all these dimensions. Because even gods are subject to some of these realities. He is above all that.
So Desiree, what did you think of the video after watching that?
I mean, it was beautiful. There's a lot of wisdom there, and just also compassion and compassion of where you are, right?
Was there anything that stuck out to you from what he talked about with regards to energy, time, or what was the other, I think, information?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's time. Time is a construct, right?
Mhm.
So he was saying you could go one way or another right, and with the information of time, is that, or right? And so like,
Yes.
and then, he was talking about energy with information.
Yeah.
Right. So when you're able to tap into the energy, then everything is only information, right? The way you go about your day, it's all information
Yes.
that you're using to create the life or to have it guide you
Yes.
to the vibrations, right? And that's just all information,
Wow.
right?
I love that you put that. That's really resonate with that.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I mean, I'm curious though, going off of that, with regards to energy specifically, because I've always tried to understand what it means.
Mm-hmm.
Have I
I
experienced
think it's
it?
that. I think you're trying to understand it versus you're trying to
Experience.
feel it, right? So
How would you describe it if you want to? Yeah, I get that maybe certain things, and that's what I've realized from this journey. I mean, the logical
Using your
mind,
mind.
exactly. The logical mind can only. It's a great tool, right? It's a great tool, but it's
Yeah.
also limiting.
right,
Certain things can't be
tapped into.
tapped into, or I mean, for instance, the cool example. Have you heard of Eckhart Tolle?
Yeah.
So he talks about this too. For instance, with honey, right? You can write a whole paper on it. You can get a whole PhD on honey.
Mm-hmm.
You can do all sorts of things, but until you've tasted it, it's a whole different thing.
Right, and it's different for everybody,
Mhm.
right? So it's really just your experience on this journey,
Okay.
right? So there's no right or wrong. Like,
Yes.
how can I tell you that honey tastes a certain way when it tastes different to you,
Yes.
right?
Absolutely.
So that's trying to understand again the mind, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. I'm curious though. With that being said, I know we've kind of talked about this, and spirituality does give this pointer, which is the idea that we're all one.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if that's the case, why do we taste it differently? Why do we experience things differently?
Information,
Okay.
right? So we're all getting different information, right? You're going in a certain direction. I'm going in a certain direction. You're going to see different things. You're processing different things. I am too.
Yeah.
You're going to read different things, right? So you're going to label something completely different than I'm going to label the exact same thing,
Okay.
right? So our experiences, so we are all one, but we all have different journeys, different experiences.
Got you. Wow. That's very powerful. I mean, it's very simple, but it makes
and so
sense.
you get to create your own, right?
Yes.
Like that's how you create your own, is by like understanding. It's like you're grabbing the information that resonates with you, that you like, to create the puzzle pieces and like the roadmap for creation.
Wow.
Energy.
That was really cool.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, energy. So, I guess with that being said,
How do you create energy?
let's talk about that.
Okay. I've been asked this so many times, and it's like people will be like, how do you do what you do? And I'm like, I don't know. What do you mean, how do I do what I do? And they're like, well, you walk in a room and I can feel, or right? So it's like, okay, how can I explain what I do? Because I was just born this, right? I've been able to tap into it very young. Imagine, when you're outside and you can feel the sun, how that feels when you're like really looking up into the sun. It feels like power. It feels like heat. It feels, right? So I figure a visual would be like, be the sun, right? Close your eyes and start feeling the sun, your sunshine, right? So that's a way to start tapping into the feeling. And until you can start to feel the yellow and feel the vibration, that's you tapping into energy. I guess that's how I would, an easy way for me to explain how, I guess.
Okay.
For me.
Gotcha. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
What if,
Does that sound really weird?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I definitely am able to I love the sun analogy. And there's this one meditation. It's called loving kindness. No, not loving kindness. It's heartfulness.
Okay.
Have you heard of that? So it's an interesting concept, kind of similar to what you mentioned, where there's like 2 sessions for it. The first session is essentially a morning sitting and the evening sitting. Evening sitting is called cleansing, but the morning sitting is similar to what you're saying, which is around the idea of how, by the way, I'm no expert on heartfulness, so just I'm sharing what I know, just to preface. But you essentially envision this divine light within you, and then you just focus on that.
Yeah.
And you'll notice it growing.
You embody it.
Yes.
Yeah. Right? So until you fully embody it, will you just move in? Yes.
Gotcha. So let me ask you this then. How do you know, because I get that this is obviously outside the logical mind, right? And, science tends to be very logical mind driven. Science is great. I mean, it lets us, track certain things. It lets us repeat certain things. It's very...
Well, there's also science of like the simple fact of, we have science to back my psilocybin, my psyllium, the earth, the compounds that have energy. So there is science behind energy.
Correct.
Right? So is that what you're...
Where I was going, I think that definitely is connecting. But what I was curious about was, how do you know if you're making progress with energy? Like, how would you... I get that you maybe can't quantify it, but how would you... Like someone that's on this journey, right? Seeking to grow their energy within.
Okay.
How do they know if they're making progress? Or if they're in the right direction?
Well, that's how he even talked about it, right? When he was trying to describe time, he's like, it's one way or the other. You can't, how do you know you have progress? That's using the mind again.
Yes.
Does that make sense? So it's again coming from you're wanting to get, find this from a completely different source. So like, you will know because you will flow, right? Like, so when you're in vibration because you're in, things just align, right? So you can't quantify it.
Gotcha.
Like, so that's the logical mind. Like, that's intuition. That's trust. That's not a logic,
The other dimensions of intelligence.
Completely. Yes. Right? So it falls into that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. And I definitely was very much in line with what you're saying. This is more or less just for the people wondering.
Totally. We're having a conversation.
Exactly. Yeah. I get these questions all the time. And it's interesting too, because I've learned that whether you believe in something blindly or you dismiss something blindly without knowing, you're kind of doing an injustice to the truth.
Totally.
It's all about the experience.
Totally.
And so I used to be like this too, and I used to be a lot more scientific in nature and focus. If I didn't know something was true, I would just dismiss it, like there's no way that's true.
Okay.
But saying no way is shutting a door to what could be true.
Correct. Well, even on that note,
Yeah.
right? So we are all products. All of us are products of different belief systems.
Mm-hmm.
There is no like right or wrong.
Yeah.
The truth is different for everybody.
Yes.
Right. So, like, the question should be, or almost the idea should be, to, and I learned this from somebody else, is I want to have the notion
Yeah.
that all of your beliefs, everything you think is truth,
Mm-hmm.
is not.
Mm.
Okay, come into that question.
Yeah.
Write them. Then see from an observer what you're believing, because then that's how you are choosing. Right? That's how you're operating.
Mm-hmm.
So until we're able to see, oh my God, I'm subconsciously operating in this way because of this belief,
Yes.
right? How do you change, and how do you know there's progress? Is by doing the opposite of that belief,
Yes.
right? You're reprogramming.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Beautiful. That was very practical, and I appreciate you sharing that advice, whether it was from me or the people watching. Thank you so much.
yeah.
Thank you all so much for taking this time and energy watching us.
Yeah.
And I really want to appreciate you for the presence as well as sharing the beautiful advice. I learned a lot from you, so thank you for that.
Cool.
And with that, don't forget to check out Desiree.
Yes.
All of her stuff will be down below.
Absolutely.
Make a great day. Take it joyfully. Also, if you have any other video requests, you can comment that down below as well. And stay conscious. Awesome job.